Hey guys, Sublord here, back again with another action figure review, and today we'll be finally wrapping up my looks at the Masters of the Universe Origins Turtles of Greyskull Metalboto Build-A-Figure set, Target exclusive, OJ'em, with, of course, none other than the Build-A-Figure Metalboto. This, of course, brought to us by the fine folks over at Mattel, as well as my good buddy Evil Villain. Click the link in the description below and give him a follow on ye old Instagram. But as always, don't be a jerk face or I'll find you. You won't like the consequences, I assure you. That said, Evil Villain pretty much got me 3/4, so 75% of the figures needed to put this guy together to Bob Steady, who we looked at yesterday. In fact, I have him right here for a bit of a premature comparison to give you an idea of how Metalboto stacks up alongside a more standard size figure. He is on the Cartoon Collection 2 Bad Body, but it's not that much bigger than a regular figure, right? Right? But you needed him, you needed Splinter Skull, who I unfortunately have in storage, Slacker, who I unfortunately need to replace because his legs are all gucked up with excess plastic and mold degradation. That's always fun to deal with, right? And Mousejaw, who, like Splinter Skull, I unfortunately have in storage. So the only one I have handy is Two-Bop here. And of the four, I think Slacker, if you get a good one anyways, is the best of the bunch. You get the most bang for your buck with that figure because it's just a chunky arse character, really well executed. The rest of them, I think Splinter Skull's actually pretty good. Mousejaw, kind of stupid. Two-Bop, good on paper, but didn't translate well. And unfortunately, that's how I feel with old Metalboto here. I think on paper, he's really meant to be something great as far as a concept goes, but in translation, it just falls apart. And we're going to talk about that, because the main thing that this guy has going against him is his accessories. So, starting off, we got these two little nipple pieces. So you can either peg them onto your girlfriend's breasts or plug them into this guy's arms and give him various arm attachments a la Roboto and Trapjaw pig sizes here. So for starters, since we already mentioned him, he does come with the 3 Roboto attachments. You get the gun, you get the axe, and you get the claw, all of which plug into that arm attachment nicely, or that arm adapter piece. And then we get a satellite dish, a drill, and a little turtle hand for some reason. Weird he didn't come with 2 of these. All of these look like shit when you plug them in, unless you plug them into the ends of the arms, and even then, this still kind of looks like shit, because it is angled, but it's not angled enough to plug it into the shoulder. Like, it looks like he is turning into a Macross, Mazinger Z Gundam mech thing with all the stuff plugged onto him. So I'm most likely going to leave all that shit off because, again, looks like shit, and keep him just like this, which is a damn shame because him like this, he looks really good. But then he's just a brick. He doesn't do anything. Just stands there. That said, he does do one thing in this mode, and all you gotta do is unplug the chest, and you can see, if I lift the arms up here, he's got the gears from the standard Roboto up in there. So when you turn his waist, the gears will turn, and his mouth will chomp, just like Roboto. And that's cool. I dig that. But other than that, man, oh boy. What happened with those accessories? We got ports on his shoulders, ports on his forearms, 6 ports on his freaking shell. They all look like shit. It is a travesty, to say the least. But reattaching the, is this a carapace? I don't know, Evil Villain told me the specific name for this piece, but memory escapes me. As far as his articulation goes, his head will just turn left and right. It will stop at actually, it will go full 360. You cannot pop this thing off once you plug it in, though, so word to the wise, don't do that shit. Shoulders will go up to the side about that far. Back down, they will rotate up and down. He's got a swivel in the elbow with a hinge. Not even 90 degrees out of that. That is about the only bad thing about the base figure. The elbow range sucks caca, so that's lame. He does have a swivel in the wrist with a hinge. Little robot turtle fingers there. Again, he's got a waist twist. That works fine. His hips will kick out to the side. Back down. He will kick forward. He will kick back. He does have a swivel in the knee with a hinge in the knee, as well as a boot cut and a hinge in the foot with a rocker. I will say the left foot, for whatever reason, was facing backwards in the packaging, so you're going to have to turn that around, but other than that, everything went on fine. This arm is tight as hell. I don't know if it's going to be like that for everybody, but that's how it was on mine, so word to the wise, be careful with that. But other than that, everything went together just fine. I will say I think the ankles are a little loose in comparison to the rest of the joints on the figure, but everything else is fine. I like the figure as it is right here, but I will say it is a shame that we don't get to use the weapons unless you really want to make them look stupid and goofy. And that sucks, because I like the drill and the satellite dish and the axe hand and the gun arm, but they just don't look right on this figure. They look very odd. But before we wrap this thing up, let's bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Manibelith. It should be worth noting that Metalboto is a slightly bigger figure. I don't think he's slacker sized, but he's definitely bigger. And then we have the infamous Elephant Spawn, who as usual towers over everyone, because unlike Metalboto, he is not a 5.5 inch scale figure. Doesn't mean he needs to be 5.5 inches tall, it means he has to be in scale, and I think this is a pretty good scale. He's a little bigger, but he's not a giant, so I think that's pretty cool. Side note, I do believe you can use the shell as a shield, much like all the other shells in this line, but don't quote me on that. It's a little tight for me to yank it off and show on camera, but I do believe you can utilize that shell as a shield. So with that being said, it is time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and much like the 2-bop steady figure we took a look at yesterday, again, check that review out if you haven't already. Would really appreciate it if you did. Well, I do believe that the concept of fusing Roboto and Metalhead together is really solid on paper. I think some of it gets lost in translation when it's put into plastic. That said, I don't think it's as bad as 2-bop steady. I think 2-bop steady lacked a little bit more so than this guy. This guy, it's mostly the accessories not really working with what you got to work with, for lack of a better term. I think the way they attach looks absolutely ridiculous. They should have had some kind of articulation point, or at least been sculpted to look like they fit onto the figure, instead of I just threw a bunch of crap on a figure that looks like a robot. You know, that's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like any of this stuff belongs, other than the attachments you put at the ends of his arms there. So while I do like this idea, and while I do still like this figure at its base form, I think the fact that the accessories really let it down is, well, really letting me down. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.